Hey guys, it's Tamara. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to be talking about some of the things that you can do to protect yourself from unhealthy family members. And I want to kind of center this around trauma. I think a lot of people who have dysfunctional and unhealthy families also have grappled with some kind of trauma in some fashion. So these tips and tools on setting boundaries really do center around trauma. So we're going to talk about that in today's video. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. For those who are subscribed and for those who are new to the channel, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button so you can stick around with us, learn new things, and suggest topics. We do that every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I think it's pretty cool, the kind of community that has been developed. And I think it's also an open space for people to communicate and comment and talk and share experiences. So I welcome you to the channel. The benefits for you in today's video is that we're going to go over some of the ways that you can set boundaries with family members who are unhealthy, dysfunctional, and have even aided in your trauma. So let's just go ahead and get started with that, okay? So when we talk about dysfunctional families, which I talked about on Wednesday, not Monday, but Wednesday, when we talk about dysfunctional families, we're talking about individuals who either have mental health conditions themselves that are untreated or poorly treated, individuals who have substance abuse issues, alcoholism, heroin addiction, marijuana addiction, whether that's physiological or psychological, whatever, over-the-counter medications, whatever drugs and alcohol that the individual is struggling with, we're also putting them in the category of dysfunctional families as well. When we're talking about dysfunctional families, we're talking about individuals who have mental health problems, which are untreated or poorly treated. We're also talking about individuals who have maybe been traumatized themselves in some fashion, individuals who have drug or alcohol issues that are untreated or they're in denial about, or individuals who in some fashion have abused you, harmed you, or neglected you in some fashion. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about the topic of dysfunctional families. So I think it's important when we have dysfunctional people in our lives, primarily family, because they're the closest to us. I think it's important that we identify ways to put up barriers, ways to set boundaries, ways to keep ourselves healthy, especially if they have been the offender in our lives, especially if they have been the abuser, if they have been the dominant character that has traumatized us. We really need to set those boundaries. So when I meet with clients for the first time in my office and they come to me for the specific purpose of working with their family and figuring out how to set boundaries, I give them at least 10 tools, and I want to share this with you today. So let's start with tool number one. Tool number one is to learn to utilize two words: maybe and no. A lot of people are like, what? Are you serious? Yes, I'm 100% serious. I had a client literally laugh out loud years ago when I saw her for her family challenges. She literally laughed out loud when I said, learn to utilize the words maybe and no. I think it's important to figure out, what do I need to put on hold temporarily and what do I need to completely dismiss? Right? So is this a situation that I'm being presented with that I need to say, okay, maybe, just give me some time to think about it? Or is this a situation where I need to just be like, absolutely not, this is not up my alley, right? So learning to utilize the words maybe and no, all right, that is healthy, all right? The next one is don't get sucked into situations that seem okay to you. I think a lot of people who have dysfunctional families, there's a certain component or certain piece of themselves where they want things to be normal. They want things to be healthy. They want things to be okay. They desire a healthy relationship. They desire a healthy family. And so that can really push you into getting sucked into the fantasy that my family's not perfect and they may not be normal, but they're my family and I'm going to be okay with that, even though they're abusing me and using me and manipulating me. And so you really have to learn the boundary that you need to set. What's the boundary that you need to encircle yourself with, right? And that is learning not to get sucked into the fantasy of, okay, my family may not be, healthy, but we're a family, 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 right? There's a lot of people who say, and I hate this saying, they say family is everything. And I disagree with that, because I think there are a lot of people who have families that are dysfunctional, they're traumatizing, they're abusive, they're unhealthy. There's also individuals who have been adopted and fostered and they don't have a family. There's lots of individuals whose families have been murdered, or they've died naturally, or they've moved, or they've traveled, or they've, disowned certain parts of their family. So if family is everything, then that means when our families don't work, we don't work. And that's not, to me, that is not the healthiest way to really see family. All right. Family is wonderful. I love my mom. I love my brothers. I really care about them. My niece and nephews, growing up, they were my everything. But there's also a boundary line there as well, because there are certain things I'm like, this is toxic, And so, I think it's important to keep in mind that while family can be loving and wonderful, family can also be a curse at times. And I think it's okay to make that statement and to be okay with that awareness. So, the next is, avoid getting sucked into the romanticism of family. Some people feel like as long as I can go on vacations with my family, as long as I can have barbecues and cookouts with my family, as long as I can, do all the things that I want to do with my family, that's really all that matters. We don't have to be healthy. We don't have to be functional. We don't have to be respectful. We don't have to have the same values, just as long as I get to go to Ottawa Park with my family. Or just as long as I get a chance to go to Disneyland with my family next year, that's really all I want, right? If you get sucked and pulled into the romanticism of the term family and of the whole idea of family, you're setting yourself up to be hurt. Because if they're dysfunctional and unhealthy, they're likely going to hurt you at some point, and you just have to be ready for that if you choose to take that ride and that journey with them. All right. Okay, the next is pursue counseling or some kind of spiritual introspection or some kind of Christian or meditatory, if that's even a word, any kind of something that can help you get in touch with you, right? You're not going to be able to understand your needs, your wants, and your desires 100% if you don't know who you are. You have to have a piece of self-awareness before you start taking these steps to set the boundary with your family. It wasn't until I, got to, I think, age 15 or 16 that I really understood what my boundaries were with my family. I hit 18 and 20. I also recognized what my boundaries really were. And then by the time I hit like 29, 30, I says, you know what? I know exactly what I want. And it is not you creating these kind of problems in my world or in my life or causing me to worry about you unnecessarily. So you really do have to know you, and you can't rush that process, but at least you can put steps into place to help yourself gain some awareness. And the first step to doing that is to engage in introspection, journal, right? Meditate, go to church, talk to a pastor, talk to somebody who has some spiritual understanding about life and who we are. Really go on a journey to find yourself. That's the goal. You want to find yourself. Even if you think you know yourself, there may be some other components that you need to explore. All right, so that's just some encouragement that I want you to kind of digest from this video. All right, the next one is avoid all social media. If you have a family member who has traumatized you, abused you, neglected you, manipulated you, they're dysfunctional, unhealthy, and they are just completely not what you need in your life, avoid social media. You don't have to connect with them on social media. You shouldn't feel bad blocking them if you need to, or unsubscribing or unfriending, as they say. You don't have to respond to the ridiculous behavior on Facebook. I think that's extraordinarily immature. If somebody puts something on Facebook that's a family member or somebody close to you and it's hurtful or it brings a certain amount of attention to your identity, you're better off to just block them, unfriend them, or not even deal with them, right? So the fact that they did it in the first place, putting your personal business on Facebook, is a red flag. I'm going to post the video up here that I did on Wednesday so you can go back and look at some of the signs that you need to let go of your family who's dysfunctional. But I encourage you to kind of back up from social media if you have family members who are dysfunctional and unhealthy and they're attacking your social media. Just totally unplug. All right. The next one is check and recheck your physiological symptoms. Check and recheck your physiological symptoms. If you are dealing with headaches and nausea and nervousness and increased heart rate and heart palpitations, and you're vomiting and you're feeling dizzy, and you're getting chest pains and back tension and muscle spasms and back aches, and the list goes on, then your body is signaling to you, hey, wake up, something's going wrong in your nervous system. Your fight or flight system is on when it doesn't need to be. Your emotions are way up. You're being overly stressed out, right? So you want to be able to identify what your symptoms are telling you. So check and then recheck your physiological symptoms, okay? The next one is be okay with not being okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay in your family to not be okay. It's okay in your family to not be okay with behaviors that are unhealthy, behaviors that are dysfunctional, behaviors that are traumatizing, behaviors that are abusive and manipulative and triangulating, right? I'm going to put my video up here that I did a while back about triangulation, so that you can go back and see that. It's okay to not be okay. And no matter what is going on externally, no matter what other family members may be saying or asking you to compromise or do in your dysfunctional family, always remind yourself it's okay to not be okay, and I'm not okay with this right now. And then work to be okay. All right. The next one is find common ground with family members. If you find that it's difficult to set boundaries with family members who have been toxic and traumatizing and emotionally abusive, find some kind of common ground. If you guys believe in the same things, if you guys can do lunch together and then say your goodbyes, if you guys can talk, but it has to be over the phone once a year, whatever it is, find common ground with your family if you can't pull away. Some people are so ingrained and so entrenched and enmeshed with their family that it's really hard to set that boundary. So, the best way to do that is to, if you're like this with your family, just slowly back away until the communication becomes less, okay? And that's what you're looking for. That's the goal. You want to be able to gain some kind of control over the relationship you have with your family. And the best way to do that is to find a common ground. And if that is not a possibility, then you want to back up, all right? And last but not least, separate. I think it's okay to separate. If you're in a family that has been the captain of your trauma, then you definitely have the right to back away. Separate yourself. It is not worth it. I've had clients, I've had people on my dad's side, I've had people on my mom's side, I've had people who come in to see me for counseling tell me and show me that I am separating completely, and they have not disowned their family, but they've completely cut off all communication. They've put up boundaries, and they just need that mental space to just be them. That's all they need. And so, if things get to a place in your family, or you're at a fed up place where you can't take the dysfunction, then I think it's okay to separate. But you want to make sure that, number one, you can back yourself up financially, emotionally, psychologically, whatever. Number two, you want to make sure that you are prepared psychologically and emotionally to set that boundary, because family members can tell when you're not ready to separate, and they will call you and send you letters and manipulate you, and the list goes on. So make sure that you are set financially, emotionally, psychologically. Make sure that you have the things that you need to support yourself. And then number two, make sure that you are absolutely ready to put that space between you and your family. So I hope these tips were helpful to you. I hope they were kind of comprehensive. If you have questions about this, or this is something you've experienced, I encourage you to go ahead and comment in the comment section below. Comments really do support the channel, and it helps push the channel up into the search results so other people can benefit from this material. So every time you comment, hit the like button. It is really benefiting the channel. So thank you so much for that. I will see you guys on Monday with a brand new video. We're going to continue to talk about families, and I'm going to continue to zone in on trauma. It's a very important topic, so stay tuned for that. I will see you guys next week. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.